The Vietnam War pushed American weapons technology and soldiers to their absolute limits in suffocating jungles, claustrophobic underground tunnel systems, and brutal close-quarters combat, unlike anything the United States military had previously experienced. This conflict fundamentally changed how America armed its infantry, forcing adaptations and revealing weaknesses in equipment designed for conventional European battlefields. This video comprehensively showcases every major American weapon system that defined this controversial and devastating conflict. We start our examination with rifles and carbines. The M16 became the new standard-issue rifle that would forever change American infantry doctrine. Developed by Eugene Stoner and entering service beginning in 1964, numerous variants were produced and fielded throughout the Vietnam War years. The early models suffered from catastrophic jamming issues caused by inadequate cleaning kits, improper ammunition powder, and insufficient soldier training, leading to congressional investigations and battlefield deaths. However, once these critical problems were addressed through the improved A1 variant in 1967, it ultimately became the defining icon of the entire conflict. Weighing just 6.4 pounds when loaded and firing the 5.56 by 45 mm cartridge, it allowed soldiers to carry far more ammunition than previous rifles. Over 8 million would eventually be produced. Next, the M14. This heavy 7.62 by 51 mm NATO battle rifle entered service in 1959 as America's standard infantry weapon. Weighing over 11 pounds loaded, it proved excessively heavy and genuinely difficult to handle effectively in thick jungle undergrowth where most combat occurred at ranges under 100 meters. Its powerful recoil made automatic fire nearly uncontrollable. It did not remain the primary frontline rifle for very long, being rapidly replaced by the M16 beginning in 1965, though it continued serving in specialized roles. Moving on, the M1 Garand. This legendary semi-automatic rifle from World War II, adopted in 1936, was still seeing significant combat action during the early years of American involvement in Vietnam, particularly with South Vietnamese forces and some American advisory units. Chambered in .30-06 Springfield and weighing 9.5 pounds, its 8-round en-bloc clip system was outdated, but its reliability remained unquestionable. The M1 Carbine, developed in 1941, was lightweight at just 5.2 pounds and very handy for rear echelon support troops, vehicle crews, and officers. Firing the less powerful .30 carbine cartridge, it was the perfect size for fighting in confined spaces, including helicopters and armored vehicles. Millions had been manufactured during World War II, and substantial numbers continued serving throughout Vietnam, despite its limited stopping power. Next, the Stoner 63 weapon system. This highly modular and technologically advanced design was genuinely way ahead of its time, capable of being configured as a rifle, carbine, or light machine gun using interchangeable components. Developed in 1963 by Eugene Stoner, it was used primarily by Navy SEAL teams who valued its versatility and reliability in maritime environments. However, its complexity prevented widespread adoption. Only about 4,000 were produced. Moving on to sniper rifles. The M40 became the bolt-action precision choice for Marine Corps scout snipers. Based on the civilian Remington 700 hunting rifle and adopted in 1966, it was fitted with a heavy barrel, precision scope, and carefully selected ammunition. Chambered in 7.62 by 51 mm NATO, it proved incredibly deadly and accurate at ranges exceeding 800 meters through the jungle canopy. Marine snipers achieved remarkable kill counts, fundamentally changing how the Corps approached long-range engagements. Next, the M21 sniper weapon system. Based directly on the M14 rifle platform and entering service in 1969, this semi-automatic precision rifle gave Army-designated marksmen a much-needed capability edge over bolt-action designs. Fitted with a match-grade barrel, adjustable stock, and 3 to 9 times variable scope, it allowed rapid follow-up shots. Its 7.62 mm cartridge provided excellent range and penetration through jungle vegetation.
The M1903A4 Springfield, a bolt-action World War II-era sniper rifle originally adopted in 1943, was still occasionally used during the early years of American involvement in Vietnam, particularly with South Vietnamese forces and some American advisory units. Chambered in .30-06 Springfield and serving specialized Marine and Army marksmen operating quietly through dense jungle terrain where its proven reliability mattered more than modern features. Its use declined as M40s became available. Next up, the Winchester Model 70. This commercial hunting rifle became a favorite of some legendary military marksmen, including Carlos Hathcock. First manufactured in 1936 and available in various calibers, its simple bolt action was sturdy, supremely accurate, and incredibly precise when fitted with quality optics. Some snipers personally purchased these rifles, preferring their familiar handling over issue weapons. Continuing with machine guns and automatic weapons. The M60, often affectionately called the Pig by soldiers who carried it, provided essential heavy sustained firepower for the infantry squad. Adopted in 1957 and weighing 23 pounds, this 7.62 by 51 mm NATO belt-fed machine gun was a genuine beast to carry through sucking mud, across rice paddies, and up jungle-covered mountains. Despite reliability issues and a tendency to overheat, it became the backbone of American fire support, with one assigned to each rifle squad. The M2 Browning stands as the legendary 50-caliber heavy machine gun that utterly dominated the Vietnam War's heavy weapons category. Originally designed by John Browning and adopted in 1933, this belt-fed weapon weighing 84 pounds shredded enemy positions, destroyed light vehicles, and engaged targets at extreme range when fired from vehicle mounts, patrol boats, and helicopter door gun installations with absolutely overwhelming firepower. Its 12.7 by 99 mm rounds could penetrate fortifications and vegetation that stopped lighter weapons. The M1919A6 was a modified portable light version of the classic Browning design from World War II. Adopted in 1943 and chambered in .30-06 Springfield, it was clearly getting old and heavy at 32 pounds by Vietnam standards, but still packed a significant sustained fire punch. It saw decreasing use as the war progressed, being replaced by the more modern M60. The M1918 Browning automatic rifle, universally known as the BAR, was the heavy-hitting automatic rifle from both World Wars. Originally adopted in 1918 and weighing 19.4 pounds, it offered serious squad-level firepower for a single soldier on the move. Chambered in .30-06 Springfield with a 20-round magazine, some remained in service during Vietnam's early years with South Vietnamese forces and American advisors before being phased out. Next, the M13-4 minigun. This electrically powered 6-barrel rotary machine gun, capable of firing between 2,000 and 6,000 rounds per minute, became absolutely iconic during the Vietnam War. Developed in 1963 based on the 19th century Gatling gun principle, it turned jungle clearings into a terrifying wall of continuous lead when mounted on helicopters, including Hueys and gunships. Firing 7.62 by 51 mm NAO ammunition, its distinctive sound and visual signature became synonymous with American air power. Next, submachine guns. The M3 grease gun earned its nickname from its crude cylindrical appearance, resembling a mechanic's grease gun. Adopted in 1943 as a cheap, simple .45 ACP submachine gun, it was extremely easy to manufacture and use. Despite expectations that it would quickly retire after World War II, it stayed in service throughout Vietnam, particularly with vehicle crews and special operations forces who valued its compactness and reliability. The Thompson M1A1 submachine gun represents the classic American automatic weapon from World War II. Originally designed in 1921 with the famous M1928 version, the simplified M1A1 variant from 1942 was quite heavy at 10.8 pounds, but remained very reliable in close-quarters jungle combat. Chambered in .45 ACP with 20 or 30-round stick magazines, some remained in service during early Vietnam, particularly with South Vietnamese forces and American advisors, before being phased out. Next, the Smith & Wesson M76. This American-made 9x19mm parabellum submachine gun was developed specifically during the 1960s for clandestine operations and special warfare. Weighing just 6.6 pounds and featuring a collapsible wire stock, it proved a compact, capable choice for Special Forces teams, including Navy SEALs conducting covert missions. Only about 3,000 were produced between 1967 and 1974. The Carl Gustaf M45, often simply called the Swedish K, was a 9mm submachine gun manufactured in Sweden beginning in 1945. It became heavily favored by American Special Operations Forces during the Vietnam War for its exceptional mechanical reliability, performing absolutely flawlessly even in perpetually wet, muddy jungle conditions that jammed other weapons. Navy SEALs particularly valued it. Approximately 300,000 were manufactured. Next, the Ingram Mac-10. This extremely small and incredibly fast-firing submachine gun was developed in 1964, chambered in either .45 ACP or 9mm, and weighing just 6.2 pounds. It could fire over 1,000 rounds per minute. Its compact size made it concealable, and it was mostly seen in the hands of specialized units, including CIA operatives and special operations personnel conducting clandestine warfare. The Madsen M50 was a simple, Danish-designed 9mm submachine gun featuring a convenient folding stock. Manufactured beginning in 1950, it saw limited use during the Vietnam War, primarily with Special Operations Forces, but those who used it found it effective and maneuverable, despite its somewhat dated appearance and compact size. Now, let's look at shotguns. The Ithaca Model 37 was a reliable pump-action 12-gauge shotgun that entered service with American forces. Originally designed in 1937, its distinctive bottom-loading and bottom ejection port configuration kept dirt and debris out of the action's critical moving parts, a vital feature in Vietnam's muddy conditions. Its devastating close-range firepower made it feared in jungle fighting and tunnel warfare. The Remington 870 was a civilian favorite pump-action shotgun that went to war in military hands. First manufactured in 1951 as a sporting arm, the military versions, chambered in 12-gauge, proved themselves in combat. It remains one of the most trusted and widely produced shotguns ever made, with over 11 million manufactured. Its reliability under harsh conditions made it valuable for point security and tunnel operations. Next, the Winchester Model 12. This older pump-action design, dating back to 1912, still worked perfectly in combat conditions. Chambered in 12-gauge, it was widely known among soldiers as a dependable repeater for clearing dense jungle undergrowth and close-quarters combat. Though production had ended in 1964, military stocks continued serving throughout the war. The High Standard Model 10 represented a unique bullpup-configured shotgun design. This semi-automatic 12-gauge shotgun placed the action behind the trigger, making it very compact for its barrel length, ideal for fighting in extremely tight spaces, including tunnels and dense vegetation. However, it saw only limited military adoption, despite its innovative design. Let's move on to handguns. The M1911A1 was the sidearm that defined an American generation. Originally designed by John Browning, with the M1911 adopted in 1911 and the improved A1 version in 1926, this .45 ACP semi-automatic pistol was widely carried by officers, vehicle crews, air crew, and soldiers in support roles. Valued for its substantial stopping power and trusted after decades of continuous service, it remained in worn leather holsters throughout the conflict. Over 2.7 million had been manufactured.
The Smith & Wesson Model 10 served as a standard-issue .38 special revolver for various military personnel. Originally designed in 1899 and continuously refined, this 6-shot double-action revolver was simple, sturdy, and almost never failed when it mattered most. Military police, security forces, and some aircrew carried these reliable revolvers. Over 6 million were eventually produced. Next, the Smith & Wesson Model 39. This represented one of the first modern American 9x19mm parabellum semi-automatic pistols, entering production in 1954. It was used by specialized teams, including Navy SEALs, for its slim profile, 8-round magazine capacity, and lighter recoil compared to .45 ACP weapons. Some suppressed versions were developed for covert operations. The Browning High Power was a high-capacity classic semi-automatic pistol designed by John Browning and manufactured beginning in 1935. Chambered in 9x19mm parabellum with a 13-round magazine, it was used by various American Special Operations Forces during Vietnam for its excellent ergonomics, reliability, and substantial ammunition capacity. Canadian and other Allied forces also carried it. Now the high-standard HDM. This integrally suppressed semi-automatic pistol was whisper quiet when firing subsonic .22 long rifle ammunition. Developed during World War II and refined for Vietnam, it became the primary choice for top-secret assassination missions, sentry elimination, and covert operations where silence was absolutely essential. It was issued to Special Operations personnel. Quiet Special Purpose Revolver, designated QSPR and also known as the tunnel weapon. This unique, quiet revolver fired tiny 4.5mm tungsten ball projectiles using a special cartridge, proving deadly at extremely close range in cramped underground combat while producing minimal noise and no muzzle flash that would blind the shooter in darkness. The M1917 revolver was a massive .45 ACP 6-shot handgun, originally adopted during World War I in 1917. Manufactured by both Smith & Wesson and Colt, some were still occasionally used by rear echelon troops during Vietnam because of their substantial stopping power and availability in military armories, despite being thoroughly outdated. Continuing with grenade launchers, the M79, affectionately nicknamed the Blooper for its distinctive firing sound, was a break-action single-shot 40x46mm grenade launcher adopted in 1961. It gave the common infantry squad the portable explosive power of a miniature mortar with an effective range of 350 meters. Each infantry squad typically had one grenadier armed with an M79, providing on-demand high-explosive, smoke, or illumination rounds. Its simplicity and effectiveness made it beloved by troops. The M203 grenade launcher represented a significant tactical evolution. Adopted in 1969, this 40x46mm grenade launcher was mounted directly beneath the M16 rifle barrel, becoming vital to American infantry doctrine. It allowed individual soldiers to instantly switch from rifle fire to explosive grenades during jungle combat without changing weapons, providing unprecedented tactical flexibility while reducing the squad's equipment burden. Up next, the Mark 18 Mod 0. This was a specialized 40mm grenade launcher designed specifically for riverine warfare and patrol boat operations. Manually operated and capable of relatively rapid fire, it rained high-explosive 40mm rounds down on enemy positions along riverbanks during brownwater Navy operations throughout the Mekong Delta. Multiple launchers were typically mounted on patrol boats. The M19, adopted in 1968, was a belt-fed automatic 40x46mm grenade launcher that fired explosive projectiles like a machine gun. This devastating weapon system could fire 40 rounds per minute out to 1,500 meters, proving absolutely lethal against enemy positions, light fortifications, and vehicles. Typically mounted on vehicles and patrol boats, its sustained firepower transformed tactical options. Next up, anti-tank and support weapons. The M72 Law, standing for Light Anti-Tank Weapon, was a lightweight, disposable rocket launcher adopted in 1963. Weighing just 5.2 pounds and firing a 66mm high-explosive anti-tank rocket, it was widely used during the Vietnam War, valued for its exceptional portability and ability to deliver powerful single-shot explosive fire against enemy bunkers, fortifications, and the occasional armored vehicle.
Over 1 million were produced. The M20 Super Bazooka represented an upgraded evolution of the classic World War II rocket launcher. Adopted in 1950 and firing an 89mm rocket, it provided the heavy anti-armor punch needed to destroy reinforced concrete bunkers and fortified positions. Weighing 14.3 pounds, it remained effective despite being somewhat dated, continuing service throughout Vietnam, particularly with South Vietnamese forces. Moving on, the M67 recoilless rifle. This portable 90mm anti-tank gun, adopted in 1950, was genuinely heavy to carry at 35 pounds, requiring a two-man crew. However, it destroyed hardened targets with devastating efficiency, firing high-explosive anti-tank rounds out to 450 meters. It saw extensive use against enemy bunkers and fortifications throughout Vietnam. The M40 recoilless rifle was a 106mm crew-served weapon adopted in 1955. Often mounted on the back of M151 Jeeps or M274 mules during the Vietnam War, it delivered absolutely massive direct-fire firepower capable of destroying enemy fortifications and hardened defensive positions. Weighing 209 pounds with a tripod, its backblast was tremendous, but its effect on the target was devastating. Next up, the M2 flamethrower. This terrifying weapon proved effective for clearing bunkers and forcing enemy soldiers from fortified positions. Adopted in 1943 and weighing 68 pounds when loaded, it projected burning napalm gel up to 40 meters. Though exceptionally dangerous for the operator, who became a priority target, it cleared Viet Cong tunnel entrances and bunkers with brutal efficiency when nothing else worked. Moving on to mortars. The M24 60mm lightweight mortar was designed for frontline infantry use. Adopted in 1977 toward the war's end, earlier 60mm mortars, including the M19, provided quick, indirect, high-explosive fire support whenever it was needed most. Weighing just 46 pounds complete, a squad could carry and employ it rapidly, delivering shells out to 2,000 meters. The M29 81mm medium mortar hit substantially harder than lighter mortars. Adopted in 1951 and weighing 115 pounds, it was essential for defending remote fire support bases during nighttime attacks throughout the Vietnam War. Its high explosive rounds could devastate enemy assault formations, providing crucial defensive fires when bases were surrounded. The M30 4.2-inch heavy mortar was extensively used during the Vietnam War, despite being difficult to move due to its 330-pound weight. Originally adopted in 1943, it delivered absolutely devastating explosive power against enemy positions, fortifications, and concentrations. Its 107mm rounds could destroy bunker complexes and provide serious fire support, typically employed at the battalion level. And our final category, hand grenades and mines. The Mk2, universally known as the pineapple grenade for its distinctive segmented cast iron body, was the classic American fragmentation grenade. Originally adopted in 1918, it had been around for decades and was still clearing out enemy positions and rooms during Vietnam's early years, though being phased out. Its 5.5-second fuse and deadly fragmentation radius remained effective. The M26 fragmentation grenade was shaped like a lemon, featuring a smoother oval body and internal coiled wire for more predictable fragmentation patterns. Adopted in 1952, it became the primary hand grenade for most American infantry soldiers throughout Vietnam. Its 4 to 5 second fuse and excellent throwing characteristics made it the standard. Next, the M67 fragmentation grenade. This modern spherical design with a smooth steel body was adopted in 1969, becoming widely used during the latter Vietnam War. Easier to throw accurately and highly effective at producing a powerful, lethal blast with consistent fragmentation patterns, it eventually replaced the M26, weighing 14 ounces. The M18 colored smoke grenade was used extensively to signal helicopters for extraction or landing zones, mark targets, obscure movement, or indicate friendly positions. Adopted in 1942, it came in multiple colors, including red, green, yellow, and violet, each corresponding to different tactical meanings and radio codes, essential for air-ground coordination. Moving on, the M34 white phosphorus grenade, universally known by soldiers as Willie Pete. Adopted in 1943, it created intense heat approaching 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit and thick white smoke upon detonation, used to flush enemy soldiers from bunkers and spider holes through its incendiary effects and choking smoke. Its use was controversial, but tactically effective. The AN M14 TH3 incendiary grenade was specifically designed for destroying sensitive equipment and vehicles. Adopted in the 1950s, it burned hot enough, approximately 4,000 degrees, to melt completely through solid steel, destroying weapons, radios, and vehicles that couldn't be recovered. Special Operations Forces carried these for sabotage missions. The M18A1 Claymore anti-personnel mine was a directional explosive device widely used throughout the Vietnam War. Adopted in 1960, this curved rectangular mine containing 700 steel balls and 1.5 pounds of C4 explosive hurled its deadly payload forward in a 60-degree arc to devastating effect. Used extensively for defending perimeters, setting ambushes, and protecting fire support bases, it could be command detonated or tripwire activated. Finally, the M14 anti-personnel mine. This small cylindrical blast mine, weighing just 3.6 ounces, was used during the Vietnam War to defend base perimeters, channel enemy movement, and maim advancing enemy troops during Vietnam's early years, though being phased out. Its simple pressure-activated fuse and destructive power made it effective for area denial, though its very effectiveness led to international controversy over indiscriminate anti-personnel mines. These weapons didn't just arm American soldiers, they defined how an entire generation experienced war. Young men barely out of high school carried M16s through jungles that tried to swallow them whole, fired M60s until the barrels glowed red, and threw grenades into tunnels where teenage Viet Cong fighters waited in darkness. Some weapons failed catastrophically when soldiers needed them most, costing lives that investigation boards and improved designs could never bring back. Others performed beyond expectations, becoming trusted companions in a war where trust was scarce. These weren't just tools of policy or instruments of strategy, they were the physical reality of America's longest war, carried by over 2.7 million service members, 58,000 of whom never came home. The legacy of Vietnam's weapons isn't measured in technical specifications or production numbers, but in the weight they placed on young shoulders, the noise they made in jungle nights, and the way they fundamentally changed how America arms its soldiers. Lessons written in blood, learned at terrible cost, and never forgotten by those who carried them.